Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to manifest your best life. My name's Dominique D. Wilson, and I help women to develop unshakable self-confidence so that they can start manifesting their big vision of a fulfilling life. Now, before I get into today's 5 ways to manifest your best life, I want to share 2 things. Number 1, we're going to be talking a lot about the use of affirmations, and here's why. Affirmations, in my opinion, are powerful mindset tools. You can use them to create needed shifts in thought patterns that aren't serving you. You can overcome habits. You can also raise your vibration to a level that magnetizes the life and the experiences that you want using affirmations. The second thing that I want to mention is the biggest takeaway out of everything I'm going to say today, and that is this. What you say you want is actually less important than how you feel about receiving it. I'm going to say that one more time. What you say that you want is actually less important than how you feel about receiving it. So now we're going to get into the 5 ways that you can manifest your best life. Are you ready? Okay. So number 1 is to be very clear about what you want. Now this sounds obvious, but it's huge. So many of us struggle with indecision and with being confused and not really knowing what it is that we want, or thinking that we don't know what we want, possibly because of a fear of failure or fear of success or a fear of what other people might think of us. And so one way that you can overcome this is to take out your journal and just imagine. Before you even put pen to paper, imagine what your ideal life looks like. Think about your relationships. Think about your family. Think about your health. Think about your ideal lifestyle. What does that look like, and what does that feel like? Imagine your ideal career, or your ideal financial situation, and your ideal level of personal growth. What does that look like for you? Take out your journal and just do some writing about those things. And what you'll find is that your values, your core values, the things that you stand for that really form your identity and make you who you are, will start to come through. You'll see these common threads throughout this journaling process. And once you know your core values, you'll have a very solid identity, or a very solid idea of what it is that you want. Because to be honest, anything that falls outside of those core values might sound great, but they're not really what you want. What you really want are the things that drive you, that motivate you to get out of bed every day. And so doing this exercise will help you to clarify those values so that when you do set an intention, when you write your affirmations, when you create that vision board, you are crystal clear on what it is that you intend to manifest in your life. The second manifestation tip is to know your source of power. One of the things that I hear a lot is affirmations don't work. I'm just standing there, saying these things. And it's because perhaps where you have to know where the power behind this stuff is coming from. So what do you believe about life in general? For myself, I believe that I am an individualized, unique expression of the life force that pulses through every fiber of this universe. And because I am an expression of that life, of that energy, then the same creative power that's in that life force is also in me. So when I'm saying an affirmation, when I'm creating a vision board, when I'm creating anything, I know that that creative power is generated from my own desire. And so there's no reason to doubt, to fear, or to worry about how it's going to happen or where the power is going to come from, because I'm clear on that. So it's very important that for you, you're clear on what is your source. Maybe your source is God. Maybe your source is nature. It could be anything. But as long as you're clear on that, your ability to manifest will be that much more enhanced. It's very difficult to use these tools such as affirmations and journaling even, and using vision boards if you're not clear on where your power is coming from. So do some thinking about what it is that you believe about that creative life force, because that's what's going to bring about the results of the desires you put out into the universe. So that was tip number 2, to know your source. So the first tip was to be clear about what you want. The second tip was to know your source. Now the third tip is to write your own affirmations. Now there are tons of sites you can Google, to find all these affirmations that people have put out there everywhere, and that's great and all, but the most powerful affirmations are the ones that you write yourself, and here's why. When you write your own affirmations, they come from a place of authenticity. I find it most powerful to think of something that you're struggling with, or something you want to overcome, or maybe a belief that you're holding that's keeping you back in life. So maybe you have social anxiety, or maybe you have a fear of some sort, a fear of getting started. You care too much about what other people think. It could be a body image issue. It could be anything. You want to take whatever belief is sitting behind that fear, or behind whatever that roadblock is for you, and simply reword it as an affirmation, and use that affirmation every day. So that affirmation you come up with is going to be so much more powerful than just standing there saying, I am great, I am awesome, I am powerful, I am abundant, I am free. Of course, all of those things are very positive and they're wonderful, but if you write your own affirmations based on a specific issue that you're trying to shift and change, based on some old thought patterns that you're trying to shift and change, it's going to resonate with you on such a much deeper level, because you know what that affirmation means, and you're the one who wants to bring about that change. And so all of that creative potential within you is really going to push that out there and create some major transformation. So that was tip number 3, write your own affirmations. So tip number 1 was be clear on what you want. Tip number 2 was to know your source of power. Tip number 3 was to write your own affirmations. Tip number 4 is to use the 3 P's. The 3 P's are present, positive, and and personal. So I said those in the wrong order, so I'm going to fix that. Personalize is the first one. Personal, present tense, and positive language. All right, so let's start with the first one. You want to make sure that when you write your affirmations, or when you're using someone else's affirmations, that you reword it so that it's personalized. Instead of saying, there is greatness all around me, or something like that, you want to say I am. Okay, I am, or I will, or I do, or I have. I have everything that I need to move in a direction that leads to my purpose. Those using I am or I have personalizes the affirmation, so that when you hear yourself say it, you're making that connection between your identity, wherever it is you are now and wherever you want to be. You're linking those two things, and that's very important. So you want to personalize. The second P is present tense. Always make sure your affirmations are present, because if you say I will be abundant, or I will have excellent health, when is will never come. Okay, the only moment you have is right now, and there's no point in even using an affirmation or any form of manifestation if you're going to think in terms of I will, or when I get there, or someday. No, it's right now. So I now have everything that I need to move forward in a direction that leads to my purpose. Okay, so you want to make sure that they're personalized, that they're in the present tense. And the third P is positive. Only use positive language. So don't use words like don't, no, not, I will not do this, or I am not, afraid of, whatever. Just completely skip any words that are not positive. I am, I have, I will. Keep things positive. Keep them in the present tense, and keep them moving forward with personalized positive language. Don't use words that are going to hold you back or give you more of what you don't want. So that was tip number 4, which was to use the 3 P's. So tip number 1 was to be clear on what you want. Tip number 2 was to know your source of power. Tip number 3 was to write your own affirmations. Tip number 4 was to use the 3 P's when you write those affirmations. And tip number 5 is to be persistent and consistent. You want to make sure that whether you're writing affirmations or using a vision board, that you're persistent, meaning that you're saying your affirmations every single day. You know, if you spend maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, well, 30 minutes is a long time to do affirmations, but if you spend, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes doing your affirmations every day, then keep that up every single day, okay? And don't let up on that practice until you see things change in your life. Also, be consistent. So stick with it. Don't change things up or stop here and there or go back, or maybe you're having a great day and you feel like everything's awesome, so you stop all your practices. No. Continue to work your affirmations. Keep them at the same time every day. Say them with the same amount of energy and excitement as you had when you first wrote them. And persist. Don't stop. Even if you don't see results right away, don't worry about that. Just believe in the power, in your creative power to manifest the life that you want and deserve. Because remember, tip number 2, you know your source. So don't have any doubt. Reverend Lee Wolak once said, let me make sure I get this right. Persistency will get you the result. Consistency will help you keep it. So I totally butchered that, but the point is that if you persist, you will get a result. But if you stop, your result will fade away. So that's why even if something, even once your manifestation starts to demonstrate for you, you want to continue on whatever you were doing to make it happen. Keep that going. Don't just throw in the towel and say, oh, cool, I'm good now. Because then your results will start to fade, and that's when self-doubt and, your confidence can go down, self-doubt starts to creep in. So you want to persist and be consistent so that you can keep that result. Whatever it is you're manifesting, you want to build on that, and that's where the consistency comes in. So just to recap, we talked about the 5 tips to manifest your best life today. Tip number 1 was to be clear on what you want. Tip number 2 was to know your source of power. Tip number 3 was to write your own affirmations. Tip number 4 was to use the 3 P's, right, of positive, present, and personal. And tip number 5 was to be persistent and consistent. Well, that about sums it up for us today. So if you have found value in the 5 tips that I shared with you, please like this video, share it with someone you care about, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, check the description box for a link to a blog post that I've written with some more details about everything I shared today. And if you visit bit.ly/RW Tribe, you can download a free copy of my 7 Kinetic Affirmations for Self-Love poster. You can print that out, hang it on your bathroom mirror, take it to work with you, place it in your sacred space, and use that to inspire yourself throughout the day. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you today. I will see you next Wednesday with another inspirational video. Until then, love yourself fiercely, own your story, and say yes to your calling. Peace.